I think she's got a skeleton in her closet. Then she turned to my father, who rocked slowly on an old sliding cedar davenport Mom had painted lime green the year before. The paint didn't weather winter too well. "What do you think, Carl?" With a twist of his head, Carl Bauer listened for the perfect A as he turned the peg on his guitar. Satisfied, he closed his eyes that had seen my face only until I was 6 months of age, and even before that I was just a blur. "Well, Kathy, I don't know, babe. She seems fine to me. A little odd, maybe, but certainly not the brooding, mysterious type. You know, just eccentric. Probably nothing more than that." "Well, I think she's got a skeleton in her closet." Dad shook his head. "Whatever you say, babe. But everyone has some sort of skeleton in their closet, don't you think?" "Not her kind." So that's where some people kept their skeletons. The simplicity of the arrangement amazed me, and it made perfect sense to my 6-year-old mind. Skeletons, being such ugly things after all, hardly deserved the light of day. The next morning, I proceeded to investigate all of our neatly arranged closets. My mother, Katharina Bynuk Bauer, boxed and labeled everything. She's kept Sharpies in her pocket ever since I can remember. Red for her own items, black for Dad's, blue for mine. And my sister Tacy's birth commissioned that final pen in the Sharpie 4-pack, the bright Lego green, lined up in the confines of her pocket, according to age, of course. I never saw her without them back then. I began the search for my skeleton in the cool recesses of my own closet. Good move, right? I mean, if skeletons lurked in closets, surely they lurked in the closet of their owner. Rexy's obviously spent a little time there. And if Mom was right, it was a doozy. Did she hang it up in one of those vinyl zippered clothing protectors? Or did she arrange it in a box? The scent of lavender sachet pillows, lemon oil, and cedar weighted the air inside my narrow walk-in closet, and the light bulb discharged a soft, pulsating pink. Clothes, in order of length, subcategory color, subcategory fabric, lined the right side of my skinny cubby. Coats, long dresses, pants, skirts, sweaters, shirts, shorts, and socks. Yes, Mom even hung up the socks. 3 pair secured by clothespins to 1 wire hanger. I did have an underwear drawer, though. "Some things aren't meant to be hanging in plain view, Lily," Mom explained the day I asked why boys are allowed to go without shirts, but girls aren't. "That's why we have underwear drawers." Which explains why women don't hang up their bras either, I guess. And these days, mine would take up too much closet space anyway. I owned lots of clothing. We all did. Parishioners donated bags and bags, and Mom drew up a chart ensuring we wore at least a few garments from each donor regularly, so they'd feel good about their largesse. The rest, torn, stained rags, really, she threw out, knowing firsthand how insulting receiving such tatters could be. "It's not good enough for us, but surely it's good enough for the rector's family," she'd say with a shake of her head. Floor-to-ceiling shelves checkered the left side of my closet. Shoe boxes, labeled in alphabetical order, rested in neat stacks. Having been taught to read in kindergarten, I closely examined the S stack. But no mute, bone-filled shoebox dwelled there, between the Scenery for Puppet Stage box and the Supergirl dress-ups box. No box with skeleton, written in incisive, voltage blue Sharpie letters, resided in this proper little nook of our tidy, tiny manse. Now, embarked upon a mission, I hurried down the hallway and into my parents' small sea-blue bedroom. Maybe parents conferred skeletons upon a child's 18th birthday, which might mean my skeleton waited, gathering a minimal amount of dust, in their closet. The same shelving configuration latticed the right-hand side of the long, narrow space. My fingers slid over the smooth surfaces of the S boxes. No boxes marked skeletons there, either. What else might they be marked under? Family skeletons? Family. Family. So I checked the F's for family skeletons, because, knowing my mom, she would have grouped them together to save space. What in heaven's name are you looking for, Lillian? Oh, no. Just standing here, Mommy. I shoved my hands in the pockets of my purple overalls and turned to face her, belly thrust forward, feet pigeoned. Her chapped fingers fluttered back to the nape of her neck, where they tightened the knot of her navy blue kerchief. She wiped her hands beside the sharp creases down the legs of her Monday, Wednesday, Friday maternity pants. The aroma of Tide, Mr. Clean, and Clorox puffed out with her movements, along with a slight hint of taboo talcum powder. You can't fool me, Lily. You're up to something. And then, heavily pregnant with my sister, she knelt down on her haunches and settled my squishy 6-year-old body onto her diminishing lap. I have no beefs with Carl and Kathy Bauer's parenting skills. Other than high expectations, they hardly ever stormed and raged, except for the time I missed Ash Wednesday Mass because I'd lost track of time at the school library. Lily, it's a holy day, my father reminded me after Mass, during which I'd made a commotion as I ran from the rain into the church, my feet sliding right out from under me there in the center aisle. I would think you'd learn to take my responsibilities as priest of this parish into consideration. Of course, I felt bad. Who wouldn't? When you see a man set his life aside for God, it leaves you almost no leverage for a great retort. Ever. 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 Besides that, my tailbone hurt for weeks, and I ended up with a B on that paper I'd been researching. As I sat on Mom's lap, I pressed my nose into her full white blouse, the Peter Pan collar ruffling my bowl-shaped bangs. She ran her rough fingertips up and down my slick blonde braid. Come now, silly Lily. You know I have mother magic. I can find anything. Keeping my face buried, I whispered. I was looking for my skeleton. Your what? I gazed up into her face. My skeleton. In the closet? She pressed a hand against her mouth, but amusement bounced around in her sweet nutmeg eyes. It's not funny, Mommy. Rexy Van Bibber keeps hers in a closet, so I thought maybe that's where you kept mine, too. 15 minutes later, after hefting open the Britannica, displaying several diagrams of the human anatomy, and explaining the term a figure of speech, she phoned the church office. He's with a parishioner? Oh, but listen to this, Jean. Her laughter, probably mingling with the church secretaries, rustled my eardrum tissue all the way from the old metal cabineted kitchen to where I sat on my bed upstairs, examining the knobby bone bumps on my wrists and ankles. Well, Halloween never seemed quite as scary after that, I can say. At least, not the part skeletons played. And even then I leaned toward jack-o'-lanterns. I have a skeleton inside of me.